Hey everyone, welcome to this series of 9 videos focusing on all aspects of your study skills. A huge shout out to the team at Crash Course and Thomas Frank for creating this amazing series so I can condense all of that amazing information to this powerful mind map so you can improve your focus and concentration if that is something you've been struggling with. If you're new here, my name is Hugo. I'm a doctor and pharmacist working in New Zealand and also a study coach from Study Smarter Academy. So in this video, we're going to talk about the important aspects of focus and concentration, including the multitasking aspects of things, factors affecting your focus and how you can improve your focus, and also how you can generate infinite focus and concentration on demand. We've got lots to cover, so let's dive right into this. So one important thing Thomas really covered was what actually makes up quality work. He talks about is the time spent times the intensity of your focus. That means that if you aren't able to focus and concentrate well, even if you're able to spend a lot of time, you're not going to be producing quality work or quality study if you are studying for exams, which then reiterates why it is so important that you understand what we're going to talk about in this video. So first, let's talk about the factors affecting your focus, starting with the first one, which is super important. The first one, which is your environment. Now, this includes your physical surrounding at the moment. Is it actually an optimum place for you to work? Do you have a lot of distractions around? Is it actually too hot? Is it actually too loud? And this is actually from trial and error. For example, I found myself that if I actually don't have any background noise at all, just pure quietness, I find that my focus and concentration isn't actually that good. But if I, for example, go to a cafe, or even if I open the windows out front, I can actually hear the cars coming and I can hear the pedestrians talking. It actually is better for my focus. Somehow, some white noise around the background actually keeps me focused on the work on hand. And then secondly, of course, with your environment, it would be your friends as well. People around you, are they actually keeping you more focused or are they a source of distraction? You really need to be honest with yourself and try to improve your focus as much as possible. Because if you're able to focus on an hour or 2 hours, then you're able to dedicate the next half an hour, or even 2 hours to do things that you love without feeling guilty. That is a really, really powerful method. So one of the most important things, make sure to experiment, definitely. So the next very important thing that he talks about is your tendency to seek novelty, meaning pretty much how quickly do you get bored and you want to switch to another task. Now this is one of the biggest factors why people can't focus and procrastinate, and I don't know if that applies to you. And Thomas talks about a really interesting concept when it comes to tackling this high tendency to seek novelty, which is trying to train your focus muscle. And here there are two very muscly human beings to actually try to get you to think, which side do you want to be on? So for most students, this is what really happens. First of all, if your tendency to seek novelty or get bored is high, usually this is involuntary. For example, you go on social media, it gives you that immediate gratification, that dopamine hit, which is the same feel-good chemical when you have sugar, you have chocolate, or people who smoke or do drugs. It's the same chemical that's released in your brain when you consume social media. That is a huge dopamine machine. And the worst thing is that you're feeling guilty as well. This so-called time off makes you temporarily feel good, but also you know it's kind of killing you inside and you feel guilty. Then what happens is that this habit now becomes more ingrained and you're more likely to do it. And then what happens after that is that you have less confidence in your self-control. And then unfortunately, then this loops back to you being distracted easily. And this loop goes on and on and on. But if you would dedicate to actually try to train this focus muscle, like any sport that you want to be good at, then this is what's going to happen. So first of all, what you really want to do is to plan your breaks, because this way you're really in control. This then leads to your deserved breaks without the feel of guilt. So you have the deserved breaks without the feeling of guilt. This then becomes more and more ingrained that you are actually in control. So you now have more confidence in your self-control. And then in turn, this leads you to become more controlled, and this loop goes on and on and on. And now it's really your choice to try and see whether you want to develop this focus muscle, or do you want to be continually distracted by social media and being not in control. It's really an identity that you try to step into, as discussed in the book Atomic Habits. So then now, talking about the third important thing that affects your focus and how to improve it is really your interest in the task. And Thomas talks about, for example, in school, there are some subjects that you enjoy more. Sometimes you don't even need motivation. You love doing math, for example, you love science, some people love literature. They don't need much motivation to actually go and do this task. And this is great because then you can actually just complete the task. But in school or even in life, there are things that we don't want to do, but we know that it is actually good for you. And with these unpleasant tasks, it's a whole new topic in itself, and we're going to talk about more about this in our next week's class, which is procrastination. And then on to our next important factor, which is our brain's current state. This meaning, are you actually hungry? Are you actually tired and you need to go to sleep? This is all very important factors, because if you remember last time you were really hungry, what was the last thing you'll be thinking about? It's actually studies. And if you're really tired, you're definitely not being able to focus as well. So make sure you're fueled up in terms of your food and also your rest as well, so you can focus a lot more. Then last but not the least, the fifth thing that we talk about affecting your focus is actually your duration of focus. So how long have you already been focusing on the task for? And that leads on to taking breaks, which goes back to this whole concept of training your focus muscle. Try to be this guy on the right and try to be less of this guy on the left when you're distracted. If you have these planned breaks, then you feel much more in control. Then you're more likely to have that habit ingrained, and you're going to be more confident in your self-control. So that concludes our first section, which is our factors affecting your focus and how you can improve in every aspect of this. Try to experiment with these. Next, we're going to talk about the aspect of multitasking. Or, I've put this diagram here to remind you that it is really an illusion. I don't say this just because I'm a guy and, we're all supposed to be bad at multitasking, but actually there's science behind this. And Thomas mentions the concept of attention residue, meaning when you're trying to do a couple of tasks at a time, for example, when you switch from task A to task B, a lot of your attention actually still remains with task A. For example, when you start to do task B, try to get into that warm-up state and flow state. A lot of your mind power is still left thinking about task A, and you have a lot of wasted brain power if you have to go back and forth and back and forth. So really, just try to pick one task, try to complete that first, rather than switching between checking your emails, then going on your phone, and then try to do your biology assignment, and then try to study for chemistry like, every couple of minutes. For example, if you set a block of half an hour or an hour, try to focus on that one thing before you switch on to the next thing. Then last but not the least, then we talk about this concept of having infinite focus and concentration. Obviously, it's something you continue to train yourself. We talked about training your focus muscle, and then we talk about not multitasking. But your infinite focus or concentration, or the concept of your long-term sustainability. How do you make this sustainable in the long term? It comes down to three things that we really alluded to before. First is your sleep. Make sure that you're having enough rest. And the next is your nutrients. Making sure your diet isn't full of just fat and junk food, so it actually makes you just way too full, and then you immediately become tired after a really big meal. I also talked about this concept of Harry Hatchiboo in my other video, just eating to 80% full, because your body takes up so much energy to digest all that food, particularly fatty foods and fast foods. Then definitely your focus will come down if your energy is drawn away from your brain. Then last but not the least, obviously, is exercise. This is really important because it keeps your blood flowing, it keeps the feel-good hormones going around your body, and it keeps it sustainable. So combining all of the things we talked about, I hope you can see how you can actually improve your focus and concentration. We've done a lot of scribbling. I know my handwriting isn't the best, so I've included in the description link below a typed up version of this, so there's no ambiguity, and you can actually print this out, share it with your friend, and try to improve your own focus and concentration. Now, I hope this video has been helpful for you. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.